Jude Bellingham collapsed and vomited in the England dressing room moments after scoring the opening goal of the 2026 World Cup. This wasn't a minor upset stomach. This wasn't just the adrenaline wearing off. This wasn't the press turning nothing into something. This is serious. Nothing like this has ever been seen at a World Cup. England's most important player scores a spectacular goal to put his country ahead against Mexico at the Estadio Azteca, and 20 minutes later, he's on his knees, unable to stand. And there's a detail the FA still hasn't confirmed publicly. Sources close to the squad say Bellingham had been showing symptoms for 2 days before kickoff. Symptoms the coaching staff knew about but chose to manage rather than act on. And the worst hasn't even come to light yet. Over the next few minutes, you'll understand exactly what happened in that dressing room, why the medical staff are reportedly furious with Thomas Tuchel, and why this could blow England's entire World Cup wide open before the group stage is even finished. Because when your star midfielder scores a brilliant goal and then collapses in the half-time break, that's not just a fitness issue. That's a breakdown in trust between the manager and the people responsible for keeping players safe. That's a dressing room wondering whether they can believe what they're being told. That's Declan Rice, sitting in silence, trying to process what he just saw. And the behind the scenes of this is worse than it looks. Let me take you inside that dressing room. Estadio Azteca, Mexico City. Halftime. England have just taken a 1-0 lead thanks to Jude Bellingham's stunning long-range strike in the 38th minute. The players walk down the tunnel. The noise from the crowd is still echoing through the concrete corridors. Bellingham's shirt is soaked through with sweat. He walks slowly, steadier than usual. Declan Rice glances over at him, but says nothing. The dressing room door closes. Bellingham heads straight for the physio bench. Kobbie Mainoo is sitting nearby, pulling off his shin pads. That's when it happens. Bellingham drops to one knee. A physio rushes forward with a bucket. Jude Bellingham vomits. The room goes completely silent. Thomas Tuchel is standing near the tactical board. He freezes. Dr. James Robson, England's head of medical services, steps forward. According to sources close to the squad, Robson gestures sharply toward Bellingham and then says something firm directly to Tuchel. Tuchel shakes his head. Kobbie Mainoo stares at the floor. Nobody moves. The door opens. A staff member signals for Elliot Anderson to start warming up. Bellingham is helped into the medical room. The rest of the squad sits in stunned silence as Tuchel begins his halftime talk, reportedly without addressing what just happened. This is serious. But here's the thing. This didn't come out of nowhere. Sources suggest Jude Bellingham had been experiencing severe nausea and dizziness during England's final training sessions in Mexico City. The medical staff reportedly recommended reducing his minutes or even starting him on the bench. But Tuchel allegedly insisted that England's entire tactical identity depended on Bellingham being on that pitch from the first whistle. And this is where the tension explodes. On one side, you have Thomas Tuchel and the coaching staff who argue that Bellingham passed all pre-match assessments, insisted he was fit, and that England simply cannot afford to go into a World Cup opener without their best player. On the other side, the medical team reportedly believes Tuchel ignored clear warning signs and put Bellingham at serious risk, potentially jeopardizing not just one match, but the player's health for the entire tournament. And there's context you need to understand. Tensions between Tuchel and the medical department had already been simmering after the manager publicly criticized injury management protocols following Reece James's late withdrawal from the squad. This was not the first time Tuchel had been accused of prioritizing short-term results over player welfare. Now that pattern has allegedly repeated itself, and this time it happened in front of the entire squad at the biggest tournament in football. And hold on, because the most controversial detail I've saved for the end. The dressing room is split. Declan Rice and Harry Kane, who've shared a dressing room with Jude Bellingham for years, are reportedly frustrated that the situation was allowed to escalate this far. Younger players like Kobbie Mainoo and Noni Madueke are said to feel caught in the middle, unsure whether to speak up or stay silent. The coaching staff remains publicly united behind Tuchel, but sources suggest some backroom staff are quietly concerned about what happens if this gets worse. Thomas Tuchel himself has not commented publicly, but people close to the England camp say the manager is standing by his decision and insists Bellingham gave no indication he was in distress before kickoff. The FA has issued no official statement, but is reportedly monitoring the situation closely. Social media exploded the moment the story leaked, with fans bitterly divided. Some are praising Bellingham's warrior mentality and backing Tuchel for trusting his star player. Others are demanding answers and asking why a midfielder showing symptoms of altitude sickness was risked at all. The English press has seized on the story. Several outlets are running headlines questioning whether Tuchel has learned anything from past mistakes managing player fitness and whether the FA should have intervened before the match even started. And now, the consequences. Jude Bellingham did not return for the second half. Elliot Anderson replaced him and England held on for a narrow 1-0 victory, but the cost could be catastrophic. If Bellingham is ruled out of the next group match against Canada in 4 days, England's midfield will be forced into an emergency reshuffle. The FA has a 24-hour window to request a replacement if the condition is deemed serious, but any such move would require Tuchel to publicly justify why Bellingham was selected in the first place. And that's where it gets even more serious, because the clock is ticking. FIFA regulations require squad changes to be confirmed within strict deadlines, and medical test results on Bellingham's condition have not yet been made public. Sources suggest those findings could force the FA to open a formal inquiry into how this was allowed to happen. Now, Thomas Tuchel is caught between two bad decisions. If he admits he overruled medical advice, he faces accusations of recklessness and a potential investigation from the FA that could undermine his authority for the rest of the tournament. But if he claims Bellingham misrepresented his condition, he risks alienating his star player and losing the trust of a squad that just watched their teammate collapse in front of them. England's tactical identity hangs in the balance. You, as a fan, know what this means. Jude Bellingham is the player everything runs through. Without him, Declan Rice is isolated, Kobbie Mainoo is exposed, and the entire structure Thomas Tuchel built his system around falls apart. This is the moment where a World Cup campaign can unravel before it even begins. One goal, one collapse, one decision that nobody can take back. And look, this is far from over. This is the information going around so far. Over the next few hours, new details should drip out, and they could turn this whole story upside down. There are reportedly audio recordings and images from inside that dressing room that haven't come to light yet. If those leak, this becomes a completely different scandal. Over to you. Should Thomas Tuchel have started Jude Bellingham? Or did he put winning above player safety? Write it down below. And if you don't want to find out about the next bombshell after everyone else, subscribe and turn on notifications now. Because when this fully blows up, you'll want to be the first to know, not the last.